Kindly, as much as you must be depth, but try to be as summative as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Chair. Honorable Montana, I received my letter at 9:25 a.m., which was about 55 minutes into the meeting, your meeting of the 3rd of June. At 9:28, 9:25, meaning it's about 55 minutes after the meeting started, with a withdrawal letter that was signed at 9:47, and a withdrawal and a suspension letter that was signed at 9:51, well into the meeting. So, signed by the chair of the board. At 9:27, I received a phone call from the chair, and I did not answer because I was watching. And at 9:28, I received this SMS. It says, "Dear CEO, kindly note there are communication for your attention from the board in your inbox. Regards, Chairperson." I then respond because I didn't see it until later. When I checked my SMS, it was there. Then I answered at 9:48, and I said, "Dear Chairperson, I thought you were not available and had prior commitments. Nevertheless, I'll check my inbox once I've finished watching the PCOT meeting." Her response at 9:50 says, "Dear CEO, yes, I'm committed currently, but I'm able to discharge important things via phone. Kind regards." Then she tries to call me again, and she keeps on calling. So I said to her, "Excuse me, Chairperson, for legal reasons and the fact that our conversations are usually distorted, I would prefer that our conversation for now be reduced to in writing. My apologies. I just think it will be prudent at this stage." That I sent at 9:52. Now, it's up to you, Chair. The deputy chair sat there and said we gave him his letter before we came here. That is not true. So that's when I received my letter. So this support, Chair, I've worked at the Department of Transport for 10 years. I think 11 years as a CFO. I know the support we give to entities. It's not something that I know. Honorable Montana would know that when we were doing 2010, we were sitting there with them, asking them what the issues were. AXA would tell you the restructuring of AXA we're involved in. They would tell you, Sandra, even with these e-tolls, we sit and we look at this. And when entities of ours get financial problems, we are very close to them to try and assist them. It doesn't happen to RAF, at least since I've been there. By the way, when I was seconded in 2019 to this establishment, it was because it was collapsing and they were asking for a bailout. That's how I get myself to be there. And I was then appointed by then Minister Mbalula to go and try and turn this thing around. We advised the ministers, they would come to us, they will disagree, we disagree, but I mean, advise people then either take it or they don't, but they do meet with us. Have we ever met with the minister as the RAF board? No. No, it doesn't happen. Have we ever met with the deputy minister? No. Only once during a, what do they call it? The AGM, the annual general meeting where you bring your, that's a ministerial, it's actually the shareholders meeting, it's not your meeting. We have never met with them. When did the meeting ever happen? Yesterday. And I was not there, Chair. I don't know whether it's a coincidence, but I was not there. This meeting was supposed to actually come, and you would see it in each and every meeting of the board. Can Chair please write to the ministry and ask them we want to meet with them? Then the question that lingers in my head is, when people come and say, well, we are going back to the RAPS bill, who's informing them, who's advising them, who's talking to them, how did they arrive at that point? Now, Honorable Gubega asked the question about the 50 billion, how it was saved. 30 billion was in legal fees. 14.5 billion was in medical fees. 4 billion was in payments to foreigners that are not supposed to get the money. And I'm going to come back to this because when we are going to deal with default judgments, you must understand that the Western Cape decision was a rescission. We were rescinding a decision that was taken on default. Now, that's how we make the 50 billion. Of course, there was a panel of actuaries that were charging us 10,000 per calculation. By the way, this medical fees are as a result of the hospitals and medical practitioners charging us 5 times what they charge a medical fee. As I told you, there are, I did not mention this part, there are tariffs that have been sitting with the ministry for more than 2 years. They've not been signed, those tariffs. And it's something that continues to worry us, because when those tariffs are there, it means that they can't be implemented. And soon we'll be told that these tariffs are out of kilter, and therefore it's unreasonable to expect people to charge those tariffs. As it happened in the during the Moseneke judgment of 2010, where we were told that we must go back, and I think it was Minister of Transport versus the LSSA, if I'm not mistaken. LSSA versus the Minister of Transport and others, where we were told that we must go and make our own tariffs. It never happened until we started. And I think our tariffs, the first tariffs we issued is in 2021. But for 11 years, that had never been done. So, I see Honorable Gubega keeps on referring me as a former CEO. I would also think so if if someone was taken away and he can't, he can't, yeah. This building, it's a very interesting phenomenon. Firstly, I never rubber stamp anything. It will never happen. The BAC is appointed by me. Although the lower committees might be appointed by someone else. They're appointed to advise me. And when they're appointed to advise me, I can reject their advice. Because ultimately, I can't delegate that accountability. I'm accountable ultimately for everything. I'm responsible for it, even if I gave someone to do it on my behalf. So, what had happened? We were in a building called Marble Towers. Below us, there were lawyers. Above, there were lawyers. You know, there are law firms that run around with logos of RAF on their cars. And that's one of the things I fought when I got there. When I saw it, I used to write to them, remove that logo. You are not RAF. But they were below and above in Marble Towers. What used to happen is that people that would...
What do you mean? So you share a building with lawyers?
Yes, we shared a building with lawyers.
That takes you to court?
And Marble Towers.
These are the lawyers that from...
Yes, these are plaintiff attorneys.
Plaintiff lawyers?
Yeah, plaintiff attorneys.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we shared the building with them. I arrived there. The first thing, I'm meeting regions. The first region I met was Pretoria. We looked at the building, not too bad. We owned the building. It's in Main Lane. Then we go to this Marble Towers for the first time. And this is what the union says to me. We have been in this building, we want to get out. This is not a living. Then I look at it, and they are right. You must look at head office and look at Marble Towers. chalk and cheese. You are sitting in your ivory towers there. You bring us here. We are not even safe and all that. And then, of course, there was a occupational health and safety that said this building is not good. We went in, we looked at it, and of course, the idea was that let's move. So I asked when I leave that meeting, what must happen? Can we move these people out? I committed to them that I'm going to move you out of this building. So I asked them, how far are you? They said, no, the process is quite advanced and all that. I said, give me a report. The report comes to my office. Apparently, my office looks at it, they ask questions, and then someone withdraws the report, right, because of the questions that are asked. At that time, Chair, we were also dealing with the head office building. And there were certain things that were happening in the lease. For instance, in the head office building, one of the minimum requirements was 30,000 liters of capacity of water. How? Does Tshwane have a water problem? No. Why was this part of the requirements? No one could explain. What had happened was that even the building we are in now, which we decided to recommend to the board to extend, they were moving out of because it did not have water. And we were supposed to pay TI and all that. I think it was 120 million worth of cost. And the idea was that, let's do it. So we look at these things. We see it, okay. There's funny things that are put in the requirements and all that. And our idea was that, no. We're staying in this building. There we do. Then we go back. We meet with the... I look at the they had gone to the market, I think 6 times, and they could not get a building on Johannesburg. So I go and I meet with the National Treasury. They had said to them somewhere in 2018, please go and look at government buildings. And remember, I worked at PRASA, so I knew that they are government buildings. So I went, I think we approached PRASA, Transnet, and I said, go to PIC as well. So we approached PIC. PIC says we don't manage our buildings. PRASA says, no, you're going to have to help us. I don't know which building it was, but they were saying that we must actually help them renovate and do it. And I said, no, that's not what we can do. And I think Transnet did not have a requirement. Then PIC then said to us, the people that manage our buildings is Moana Properties. That's where Moana comes. So we go to Moana Properties, okay, PIC buildings, they manage them. Remember, the owner is GPF. If you look at our lease, we've signed it with GPF. We go there, they've got 3 buildings, right? Got 3 buildings, we choose a team, we say go and look at those buildings. They're government buildings. They check them. Then they like this one. It's a former BP building. There was not a lot to do on it for people to move in. And remember, I promised people were going to move you. So we do that. They tell us the TI and we sign. We recommend the list to be signed by the board. The board signs it. We even explain this is a process. Lucky enough, Chair, sometimes fate works in its own way. We still had to get the approval of the National Treasury. For us, not these days you don't, but then you had to go to the office of the Chief Procurement Officer, CPO, and ask for approval. They looked at it, we presented, they approved. We then agreed, the board had approved it on condition that the National Treasury does that, and then we went into the building. Moana, as a state-owned. By the way, Moana is 100% owned by Pareto, who's 100% owned by GPF. Those who know will tell you that GPF owns that. They can explain, and no one is calling them. No one is asking Pareto, is he right, is he wrong? They're starting with stories. But this is a GPF building, Chair. We went in, yes, it was even cheaper than the previous building. And the costs are there, they were calculated. And then they come to me, I look at them, I agree, I sign, it goes to the board looks at it, we present, and the board agrees, and then that's how we got into that building. Now, is there capture at RAF? Yes, a lot of it. A lot of capture. And those that don't want to care, some of us that refuse to be captured will be called names. We're invited to all sort of manner of things, Chair. We refuse in the space of what we do. Are people capture? Yes, there are people that capture spaces. And RAF, Chair, it's a 48 billion economy. You must understand it. And if you want to understand it, you must understand it in the context of your PRASA. Probably their budget is at 25 billion now, or 30 billion. Ours is 48. Sanral, I think they're sitting at 33. I don't know what SAA is, should be lower. AXA is even lower than us. I think it's less than 10 billion, 10. But there's a difference about RAF. This is cash. There you have got to build a road, people must see it, and then you must spend. No, this is cash. People make money just by filling forms. Okay? And then you disperse this cash. And you must understand it as that economy. Fundamentally, you could sit there, Chair, and exchange a few things and make, let's just say the claimant gets 10 million. You can get 2.5 million easily like that, because people just take 25% of whatever the amount. And I'm even told that these days they want to claim that disbursements that are to, if they had hired a senior counsel, it does not form part of that. You must call the legal services ombud to come. He must explain to you the difficulties of our people coming out of there. So, the more time you take in settling a claim, the more money the lawyer makes. It's a fact, factual. So, that's why you would see, we say, give us the information. RAF Form 1, give us all the information so we can settle your claim. They take us to court. We say, chaps, medical aids, no man, you can't do that. There is this Medical Schemes Act that says whatever, court. We say, let's bring the medical tariffs, court. Anything we have done at the RAF is taken to court. And they said to me, well, we don't have to pay legal fees. We are lawyers. We just draft the papers and you see. So we want to change the model, court, Mabunda versus others. We'll get to it, Chair, because that 4 billion, you'll see how people want to play it. This so-called, they went and terminated an internal legal whatever that was assisting them. You must read the judgment of Ketsekele versus the RAF. It will give you a story about that. In fact, it says that the panel or the funds the legal representative were complicit in the scheme to fleece the RAF. It's not me. It's there in court papers, but you will see. So who wants to capture the RAF? The people that continue to chow in the RAF. So, Chair, this 30 billion, we took it from the likes of De Broglie, the likes of Gertnel and Associates, and every other top-level law firms. And that's a fact. Okay, so when they fight, you are not surprised. They pride themselves by fighting. By the way, they killed RAPs, and they pride themselves with that. Now, Honorable Shikombane says, is there corruption within RAF? Yeah, well, one of my predecessors and one of my mentors once said to me, you can never finish corruption unless you are part of it. So as you move, it moves. So you must understand that as you move here, it moves the other direction, okay? So we never knew that the Discovery was claiming from us. Because how do you know? They never claim from us. They get their members and they hire a law firm. The law firm takes their members and they claim from RAF. And then at the back of it, they then say, let's pay us because you can't get this money, we have already paid it. So that's the reality. How we got it? There's a lady that came to me crying, I got money, Discovery is taking it. And I said, what do you mean? She says, no, they are taking it. They're saying it's our money. My lawyer gave my money to Discovery. Yeah. They are claiming. You went to Discovery. What does that even mean? So we went and we looked. And that's how we discovered this 500 million a year. Okay? Okay? So, it will come back, Chair. And the deputy chair must answer this. The deputy chair of our board must answer this. Whether she was not at 360 Health, and whether 360 Health does not manage CISO medical aid, and whether CISO medical aid has ever claimed from RAF, even during the time she's on this board.
Repeat that. For record.
Let's start here. Our deputy chair once applied for a position as CEO of RAF and she didn't get it. Okay? She gets appointed to the board, right? After complaining about not getting the position. Then she's on the board. But when she's on the board, she is a CEO of a company called 360 Health, which is a medical scheme management company like Discovery Health. Okay? They manage CISO medical scheme. CISO medical scheme has been claiming from RAF during that period. And you can understand the fight between us and Discovery and whether what position she will sit in when it comes to that. But we'll get to that. Now, the issue around Honorable Shkwambani says issues of governance. I must say, Chair, when I was sitting at home, I was shocked when I was told no. Actually, the first thing that shocked me was a letter that says you have been placed on special leave. And I phoned board members and I was like, what's going on? And they say, what? We are not aware. So they check the letter. The letter gets sent to me before it gets sent to them. They then say, but this is not our decision. Until today, there's never been a serious board meeting that discusses that. Now, the issue about the CEO position is a very strange phenomenon because, as I said, we sat in a meeting where the issue around reappointment was mentioned. It was not mentioned by us. We can give you, if you look at my papers, actually it's in there. That indicates very clearly what must happen when reappointment is being done. Is there interference from the ministry? Absolutely. Absolutely. So the main person, the minister, I don't know about the minister, I don't remember her, but I know that the deputy minister has got a very serious interest about this because I do not think that she wrote to other entities and asked them the same and that they must advertise positions.
You see he?
There?
He.
Yes. The deputy minister.
I'm saying, you are saying she, he.
Oh, he. Oh, yes. I don't think he did that. Because, firstly, the RAF board, every time they receive a letter from the ministry, they panic. And then they ask for a legal opinion. Even in this instance where they received that, they asked for a legal opinion. There was a meeting that was held, apparently instructing this, and they asked for a legal opinion. They must give you that legal opinion. And then from there, I would not know exactly what happened, but what I know is that on the 14th of May was the last day on our 360. People did 360. They must give you the outcome of that 360, because I don't think that it was paid using state money, so I'm sure you deserve to know. My view is that it didn't come as the way they thought, because in the 360 chair, LSSA was there to assess me, lawyers. I think BLA was there to assess me. The medical fraternity was there to assess me. I'm telling you about people. When I say 50 billion went, these are the people that are included in the 50 billion that we took away. So you must understand it in that context. I just said, let it be done. My rights are known. I will defend them if there's a need. So then there is an issue around security. I think, look, who wants to kill you? Hey, I don't know, I've got so many enemies. And most of them as a consequence of RAF. My children are protected. And against that issue of bringing assets back, I have refused to bring the assets back because I still want those protectors to use those cars to make sure that my children are safe. But my children did not apply for a position at RAF. So there was that assessment that was done that my children must also be protected. Right? So we had to do a lot of other things. But there was a time when armed people, armed assassins, full in an H1, broke through, held people at RAF, the security at the gate and then went in. Lucky enough that day we had a board meeting, it ended late, but it was online. So I think they got their wires mixed that they would still be there because we are people that actually work after hours. So that happened. And then there was a time when I had to be evacuated from a stadium because there was a hit on me. And we picked up that the heat was coming from the taxi industry. That I've discussed with the state security agency. So yes, they know about that. So there are cases as well that are opened there, Chair. So that's the truth. Now,
are you concluding?
No, I'm coming to Honorable Governor.
Okay.
Misconduct allegation, 79 million. I think I've dealt with that 79 million, Dean. Are you cleaning up the entity? Of course. It's very strange. These days, the so-called whistleblowers are everyone else that we have either fired, had problems with us when we arrived. These people that had mixed allocations and all that, suddenly these people are the best. They are whistleblowers. They are coming back. And then people tell them right so that we can act on it. We know. They meet with them, they tell them that. And we know that we have got evidence to that effect. In fact, I know those people by name, right? Now, the letter received, I wrote, I said, Honorable Member, that I received my letter on the 27th. Actually, I received it because I read it on the 28th in the morning. Before then, I did not know that I was on special leave. That's why I was somewhere here. It was, like I said, it was a shock. On the 30th of May, I write to them, and what I say to them is that your conduct is unlawful. I can't be there. Because I went and checked our leave policy. I signed that leave policy, I know it. I don't remember at any point where you can be given special leave without asking for it. And when they were confronted with that in this very room, they then started saying things. There's a lot of things. And I'm like, hey man, it was not SIU anymore. No, he didn't want to come here. Then when, as they do, every time someone wants to answer, especially the acting CEO, when he said, no, we have never been instructed to not come to Scope at all. It was their decision. I'm telling you, Chair, until today, as I know it, unless it changed after I was then put on suspension, the 20th of May decision not to go to Scopa has never been changed. Can't answer that. It has never been rescinded. So the decision not to come to Scopa is a board decision. You would see it in the letter of the 22nd of May to Scopa to say we are not coming. For that reason, please postpone. So The story that I said I'm not coming is not true as well to Scopa. Look at the last letter that we sent, I think around 4:25 on the 27th. It says, can you please postpone? So this story that I was not coming to Scopa is not true. Then when we realized that they're not going to move the meeting, they're not going to postpone, guys, there's an instruction from the board, let's all go. Then I land here, and then I'm told that I can't come here. She signs this special leave thing at 5:30. You see? Conveniently, it's not sent to me. I'm leaving at 9. It's only get to me at 10 to 11 when they know I'm airborne. There's nothing I can do about it. So those are the facts. Then I write to them again on the 31st, because I then realized something. They didn't lie to board members and say they could not find me from the 24th to the 25th on a weekend. I had gone AWOL. Firstly, Chair, 24th and 25th of May were a weekend. RAF does not open during weekends, and I don't think that I must ask for leave. I could have been anyway. But it's also not true. When you go and look at it, I've written it. It's in my papers as well. 36 minutes I spoke to the company, it's not company, board secretariat. I spoke to him on the phone. And you won't see any missed call because they lied. They just went and lied. Or misrepresented, as the chair would like to have it. But I mean, if you say, I can't find someone, I've got a PA, they never called my PA. I've got an office manager, they never called those people. Neither have they ever called me and got a missed call. So I've proved that, I've put that in there. Which office have you told? I went back to the chair and I said, if you are saying I must bring back assets, this includes vehicles. No, this includes vehicles. Those vehicles, one of them is an armored vehicle. A couple of them are actually armored vehicles. For obvious reasons, that the hit that was taken on me was never going to be with the 9mm. It was going to be a serious thing. So the idea of getting me an armored vehicle, now I must take it back. And I said, no, I can't. And then their lawyers came back and said, bring back the car. And that's what also made us to rush to court. Because the view was that, no, let's also challenge that. So we are saying that, what are we challenging? We are challenging the suspension and its subsequent instructions and conditions. So that's what we are challenging, Chair. It's a matter of public knowledge. It's there on the papers. The papers, apparently, they are doing rounds in social media, so they are there. Honorable Maduna, the building, I've said it. The BAC comes to me. I don't rubber stamp anything. I would never do that. Because then it's my issue. So I went, and it belongs to the GPF. The issue of the accounting standards, it's a board decision. Processed properly. We even have a review coming from PwC that says, no, you are right. In fact, the ASB agreed with us and guided us through this process. No one calls the ASB and say, why did you change your mind? We have said this to Scopa so many times. But of course, when you do that, you are just shouted down. No one is willing to listen. No, you can't say that. We hear you. We get that as a problem. Every time we come in this very committee room, actually, for all our sins, we are always shouted down. The ASB agreed. Even the accountant general agreed. What is not coming out is that we received a letter saying, do not go to the Constitutional Court. Please do the following. That letter we answered. We went back, Chair, to the ASB, to National Treasury, to AG, furthermore, to the International Accounting Standards Board that owns
just without disrupting?
Yes.
Who wrote you the letter that do ABC?
It comes from the minister. That letter that says, don't go to court, apply this standard that is approved by the following. We said, Minister, we will come back to you. Let's go back to those people. Because the things you are saying, one of the things she's saying in there is that the accounting policy is in a policy space and it belongs to her. And we wrote to the National Treasury to ask whether in the PFMA or anywhere, where does she get all those powers? And the letter is there. It's written. It says, no, she doesn't have those powers. Those powers belong to management. It's there. There's a letter from the ASB. There's a letter from the AG, very clearly saying we don't deal with matters of accounting policy. And then, of course, we wrote to the International Accounting Standards Board to say, tell us about whether what they want us to go back to, which is if IFRS 4 still exists. They said it doesn't. And then we went to the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, whether IPSAS 42 still applies. They said yes, but you must still go back to ASB. All those things are there. When was that done? This year, before we finalized our financials. So this issue that we don't listen, we are all that, is not true. And I'll tell you, Chair, every time the board writes to the ministry and answers, they hit us with letters, there's a special meeting, we go around, we respond, then they go quiet. Then they write again. So that is what happens all the time. So the issue of the acting chief claims officer, was the board aware? Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, they must give you my assessment of the previous board and this chairperson and the previous chairperson. You must see it in the assessment. One of the things that I am given more marks for is taking that as something that I must do. It is one of the reasons of my performance being at that level. So,
come again. So you are saying you have been rewarded?
Yes, for holding 2 positions in my bonus. So this story. Did you hear the position of the board in relation to that matter? It's a misrepresentation, Chair. I'm saying go back and check. Go and check. Go and check. It's a misrepresentation. It's a misrepresentation of the highest order. Let me tell you what was happening, Chair. We had problems in various regions. And we had gone to the market twice. This story that says, no, this thing needs someone who's medical and someone who is medical and what and law. It's not true. It's not true. In fact, the rationale of why we can't get people is that RAF, it's unique in the way that it sits. Okay? It has got an element of insurance, it has got an element of social benefit, it has got an element, but generally it's a social benefit scheme that is based on delict. Part 2 are saying it. You need to sue the state to get your money. Where have you ever seen that? But it's in RAF. So this story that it needs medical. By the way, my predecessor was a medical doctor. We still sat with 10.6 billion worth of legal fees. We sat with the highest medical bill. We were paying 5 times what medical aids are paying for the same procedures. He was a doctor. So this story, there's no truth to it. So we'll get to that, Chair. But the reality is that they knew and they were aware. And I told them my decision and they agreed with it. What we then had was that we were supposed to fill the position, but then we went 2 times and we could not get the right people. We even said, let's try to develop our own team by internal, because we couldn't get people that understood the RAF Act out there and understood what RAF claims are made of in the market. Now, default judgments and state attorneys. Our state attorneys are very competent. Very competent. In fact, sometimes they give senior counsels bloody noses in this engagements. They're there. We can give the list of cases where they've won against senior counsel on matters of RAF. So this thing of now creating, a couple of things happen, by the way. Not that they did not happen when we had a panel, where someone just goes there and then freezes or decides not to defend the matter or does not read the papers or whatever, because sometimes they've got more work or whatever. It happens in any organization. So we can't say simply because there is an incident there, we throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's not true. Okay, so very competent people, very good at what they do, and they've saved us a lot of money. As we say, 30 billion. That's a lot of money. Now let's go to default judgments, because you see, there is a story that suggests the following: that if you defend a matter, it falls off the court roll. Absolute nonsense. There's no such a thing. When someone defends a matter, it goes on the defended part. There is the one that is unopposed court roll. Once you oppose it, it goes to the opposed court roll. It does not get off. And by the way, when that happens, it must go to trial. You can't allocate 10 matters a day that are opposed. It's not possible. Okay? So this story, and it starts the very same way. By the way, when this engagements between the two deputy ministers started, it started this way, Chair. We were blamed for the court roll. We were blamed. People said, yeah, you are responsible for this court roll to be like that. Of course, numbers lemma lie. We went to them. We said, let's go back. This year, these are the number of things. Here are settlements. I think part 2 was showing you our settlements have increased over the period. We started showing those things to show that not you go to the work that was done by Professor Henny Kloppe on the number of matters that were on the court roll. You look at what is now on the court roll on these matters, you realize that there's no truth to that. Then it changed. So every time we answer, we are attacked. Every time we answer, it mutates. This issue of of what we are seeing now, which was being challenged, by the way, the law firms, including Gert Nels for law firm that ran to the Constitutional Court fighting about the new directive in North Gauteng that says mediation will be compulsory. Done by these guys of mine that also are said, no, these guys are incompetent. We started that work long ago. And of course, in the process, the legal fraternity is also part of it and all that. We discussed these matters. And of course, I think that the judiciary got to a point where it's just unpalatable that they must sit and negotiate forever with people that are never going to agree with this negotiation. And of course, they went to court and all that. And it is going to come to court. Because anything you do to change this system, you are going to be taken to court. There's no question about it. The aim is to do what? Delay you. No, we need time. Hey, let's consult. Hey, let's do that. Because they do not want a situation where one day they find themselves outside. Every time you ask them a question, you must ask them, what percentage of your work as a law firm is RAF? They must tell you. Now, 4 billion, there's no 4 billion there. Nothing. We don't know, by the way, how they calculate the 4 billion, because we have never seen this so-called interim report. No. They come here, they tell you, no, the interim report is not used. Did you see what the deputy minister said here? So the deputy, an interim report can be used. Very strange. When we are told by the very same SIU that it can't be used. And I want to read you one of the responses that is also sitting in front of SCOP. Very interesting that when it comes to that, they don't tell you this, because I think it's important that we look at everything, including that response. This response, Chair, talks about, it's when the board is now saying, come and brief us on this matter, Chair. And they say, I'm going to try and get it here, Chair, because I think Okay. I'm going to try to get it. Response letter of the 3rd of May by the SIU to the chair of the board. Paragraph, I'll make it available to you.
I think you must make it, available.
Paragraph 11 says the investigation is currently at an advanced stage, including the process to grant affected parties the right of reply. Then it says, based on further consideration of the current stage of the investigation. Now they have now went and reconsidered it. This is on the, I think that the date is the 23rd of May. They then say, based on further consideration of the stage of the investigation, we are of the view that presenting the RAF board before the right to reply process is finalized would not be prudent. It's them that say this. The next paragraph, which is 12, says we will consider the request to present to the RAF board after the completion of the investigation process, including the right of reply process to affected parties. Then the DM comes here and says we can use this report. Because yesterday, Chair, I get it that people were asked, why didn't you put the SIU as part of his charges? And the others were saying, no, we should have. Others said, no, we gave you the opportunity to actually charge this guy. Now this thing can't stick. That's what was being said in yesterday's meeting. I think people must be honest. Now, Honorable Malamach, so I think I've dealt with the issue of the 4 billion. It doesn't exist because in any event, when you deal with the default judgments, if it's default and we see this person is given 10 million, in our view, this person deserves 3 million, we rescind it. The same thing that happened here. There is an illegal immigrant that says the default says must be paid. We challenge it. If you check it, it says the rescission is dismissed. And we said, let's take it to the SCA because we are rescinding it. Because we look at it, we assess whether it makes sense. If it makes sense, it's 3 million and then it was supposed to be 3 million, what's the point of defending it? We don't have to defend it, we then pay it. So this money that people say as a loss, Chair, is a problem. Just as suppose, Chair, it was even the case. We saved 30 billion. If at all we lost 4 billion, that would have landed us with 26 saving. Still, it makes commercial sense, but it does not happen like that. There's no 4 billion that is being lost at the RAF for whatever reason. That's not true. And it will be proven in the numbers. I think there's number. And they don't challenge those numbers. Once you give them that, they then run away from that, then they start something else. Now, efforts to notify the authorities, I've already dealt with that. The relationship between the ministry and the entire board, it's a difficult one. As I told you, they are scared. They are scared of being dissolved. They are scared of their names being done like that. Others were even promised that, no, we are going to dissolve this board. And when we dissolve it, you must not be found on the other side. They are going to dissolve it, and once they dissolve it, apparently hire others back. And I don't know what will be the criteria, but the reality is that you must sit with these board members and ask each one of them what the experience have been in being on the RAF board, especially in the 7th administration. Now, good relationships, they are very important. But what happens when your parent is actually very quiet? Someone tries to take 5.1 billion of our money. No one says anything. Right. No one says anything. I think that I skipped, Chair, but I'll deal with it when I find out, because the issue of the discovery letter becomes an interesting phenomenon. I know the letter. Because we responded to the letter, Chair. It came to us.
How did it come to you? Because not directed to you?
There?
How did the letter come to you? Because is the very letter that is read by...
Yes, I know the contents of that letter. I remember that it was July last year.
How did you respond to it? The minister referred it to you?
Yes,
okay.
To say there is this complaint. It was a lot of them. There is a full response that also the chair does after this. I think a letter was signed on the 9th of August. But I was on leave, Chair. I was in Europe, actually, at the time. And I could see this thing. Since the appointment of the minister, they were just getting letters and letters. And I took an unprecedented move to write, to say, Minister, wait, let's brief you on these matters. All these other people were writing. All sorts of men of them. Others rehashing these things, and you'll see it in my response. I can share even the response, Chair. Because I could see. Then we said, Minister, wait, let's brief you first. As I said, we have never had an opportunity to brief the minister or the deputy minister on these matters. Never. So that's the reality of it. And of course, Discovery was going to lie and say whatever. They said what they said. But in there, they said, Letsoalo cannot be allowed to continue in this fashion or something like that. And I said, by who? They don't say by who. Of course, we give them a bloody nose there at the North Gauteng, we win this case. Then others go quiet, you see, because they were waiting for that moment. They hoped we would lose. Then they were going to create this instability, as it were. We didn't. We won that case. Why is the RAF not acquiring land? Now, the RAF does not even want to own a teaspoon. We are sitting in attachments every day. You know what happens when people were called to Scopa here? As we landed here, people were in Scopa. The sheriff was busy there, taking assets that don't even belong to us. Leased assets, they were taking them. It shows you the coordination. How did they know we were here? All the executives were called here, forced to come here. They were here. And then in Pretoria, in our head offices, people were attaching assets of G-Fleet. The cars that are there belong to G-Fleet. They were attaching them. You can't believe it, but it's the truth. Okay? So you see this coordination. So this complaint about Sefotla Modiba, no, Chair, you are going to see. We have evidence of these things. By the way, it's under oath. I received this thing. I never left Joburg until they dropped the charges and all that. It's there. They are not going to tell you that they say, no, we wrote to the executive mayor about something that he must say when he was not there. Okay?
You're going to repeat that?
Executive mayor Dada Morero was not there when these issues around Sefotla were happening. And I'm saying we have got letters indicating very clearly that these charges were dropped. And they were dropped before he actually came there. The story that whilst he was busy being charged, he left is not true, Chair. So these ones want to ignore this thing. By the way, the chairperson of Scopa writes back to the lawyers of Mr. Modiba, and he's not saying these things. He says, yeah, there's a differing views and what will allow this process to proceed, and then someone gets suspended for it. Right? And it so happens. And then people are refusing to sign their own decision that they took to suspend someone, and they want to use someone as a stick, and they say, you must sign that. It's wrong, Chair. So, Mr. Lukwareni is under pressure. They want him gone. The sooner he leaves, the better. And all of us, apparently, that we are going to all follow suit and we are going to leave RAF, they are cleaning. That's what they said on the meetings of the 29th of, that was held in RAF offices by those three that I've already referred to. Now, I've taken you through the SIU matter. There's nothing as painful as someone coming and saying you have done something and you hear it for the first time on YouTube. You sit there and someone says, hey, they say you are responsible for something. Apparently, I've got even 2 ID numbers. So someone was making aspersions about me having 2 ID numbers and all that. I've never been cleared. What? Chair, my first job was at the South African Reserve Bank. You will never go there without being cleared first in the first place. So I worked for the state. When I left there, I went to Department of Public Enterprises. I left Department of Public Enterprises. I went to private sector. I came back, appointed by cabinet in 2008 as a DDG in the Department of Transport. And people say, no, they cast aspersions about my clearance. I'm clear. I'm clear about that. They tried some funny things 2 weeks back to say, refill your form. I said, tell me about the one I filled. Well, where did it go to? Because they wanted to come back and make it about, no, he has started now. No. The SSA must do its work. We are there. I mean, we are there, the clearance. And people must understand. I heard the story, Chair, that when you are cleared, RAF does not deal with secret matters. No. At best, confidential or strictly confidential. There's no top secret there, RAF. So the clearance, people must understand that clearances are also by category. So you can be cleared for, you can fail top secret and be allowed to go secret. You can go, it's miss. People must understand what clearance is about. And clearance is not about this.
Yeah.
And then your issue, I think I've answered it, Chair.
Yeah, you did.
About the chief, the chief claims officer.
The claims officer.
Why did it take so long? As I said, we are trying to get someone we didn't get. And then lastly, what, Chair, I think your recollection is incorrect about interference. Honorable Malemacha said to the chairperson after she presented, said, are you a coward? Why don't you tell us someone is interfering? If you remember, go and listen to the tape. When after the chair had presented, you then said, who is this giving instructions? Is there someone interfering? You must be clear and tell us who's interfering, because very clearly there's interfering. Honorable Malemacha said that there in our head office. You must remember that meeting.
And what was the answer?
The answer? No, I mean, we laughed about it because she was keeping on telling you that we have been getting instructions and letters every day, she said. And you said, then it means someone is interfering. And then we just laughed about it. But
No,
the reality
I'm
is...
saying, did it come out in that meeting that there is this person who's interfering?
No, it came out, Chair, that there was someone writing us letters nearly on a daily basis. And Honorable Malemacha said, then there is interference, you must just call it for what it is. Go and listen to the tapes.
No, I agree.
Yes.
I'm saying you, the board, or
Yes.
in whatever that session, that matter was downplayed. It was never elevated clear that there is interference.
Chair.
And we agree on that.
Yeah, Chair. Remember, some of us are not direct, others are direct. But the fact remains is that it was mentioned that letters are written nearly on a daily basis.
Yeah.
We are fielding instructions after instructions. And that is the truth. And I'm saying, go and look at the pattern, Chair. Look at the number of special meetings and look at the number of letters that have been written to us and what those letters were saying.
Okay.
So, yeah. What broke the camel's back? Well, people are scared. Others we have bills, Chair. We have bills. Right? So most of us, we are black. We have bills. It's not nice to be told you are not going to get money, that your children are going to starve. We are going to either dissolve you tomorrow or whatever. So people are scared. And if they are scared, you are going to see that serious instability. Others will stick it, others won't. But, Chair, it will be a travesty when some of these board members that work so hard, that have defended this thing so hard, are now thrown out. It's like throwing the baby with the bathwater, simply because they are under duress. There has been duress there, and you must ask about it. Because it's only clear, and you're going to see it, that this organization is not stable. But it's just a whirlwind. It is happening now, and then some people must be put aside, and then some will come in and do whatever. The reality is this: it is not easy to be a RAF executive. It's worse when you are at the board. Because remember, some of the times you are not in the organization, so you wouldn't know. People will write to you and do whatever. Others will meet you in the corners. Others will send you stuff and all that. And they will tell you, hey, these things are going wrong. Then you go and you check. No, there's nothing here. And when you do, they say, that one, they are controlled by that CEO. There's no such a thing, Chair. So I'm saying to you, Chair, that's the issue. So the issue of non-payment, Chair, you must help us. SARS has acted recalcitrant. In fact, we have opened a case of contempt of court against them. And we are sitting with the Minister of Finance was supposed to submit to court on an urgent basis. And I think since April, he was supposed to have submitted a certain affidavit. He has not done it. So that they keep on deducting the money. Then you're going to come back and say, why didn't you pay? Because it's not there, Chair. SARS is unlawfully deducting our money. So, Chair, I hope that this portfolio committee will write to them and ask them. Because clearly the ministry has not helped us. So it's important, Chair, that when we look at those matters, you understand that 5.1 billion is a lot of money, Chair.
Hold it there.
Yeah.
So you went court with SARS?
Yes.
You won against SARS?
Yes.
But SARS still deduct?
They ignored the court order.
Have you went back to court?
Yes.
Okay.
In contempt. And then we said they're in contempt. And then they said, okay, let's clarify what must happen. And then they said to the Ministry of Finance, give them this order that they must give us an affidavit. And they didn't do it, Chair. They didn't do it. We are sitting here, they have deducted. I'm sure now they're sitting probably at close to about 5 billion of that money. So where do we get the money? Remember, we don't get an increase in the fuel levy. Right? Medical inflation goes up. Everything we are paying goes up. And we sit here and someone just in the middle of somewhere just decides that I'm going to deduct your 5.1 billion, which we are saying is unlawful. So we sit here with this board. By the way, this very board must sit and take those decisions. What must happen? Why are we not getting any support? And then you come and blame them, Chair. I think it would be unfair. Thanks.
Honorable members, it's still early. I can allow you another round. No, yeah. I must thank you for, one, having, under the difficult circumstances, allowed you to come here and widen our ears and widen our eyes. I must say it here on record, colleagues, friends, compatriots, that I'm more convinced than any time ever before that it was necessary to call the CEO here. And I feel sorry for those members who left and could not get. I hope they'll be able to get through other channels. Because it's very dangerous to make a determination based on one-sided story, which I've seen as an attempt by other members to do it. Then I must reiterate, I was very clear in my conscience when I needed a legal opinion on this particular matter, because I knew that members, when they serve certain political agendas and certain political interests, have a tendency of somersaulting. And I needed to be legal-wise, and that's why I did what I did. And I'm really very happy that we're able to achieve through that particular process. And I must thank you all, honorable members, especially those that proposed that we must have him here to give the account. Also that you did not tell us about sub judice, because I think maybe it's because you are confident of what you are talking about. So we really appreciate that. Our eyes are more widened than any time ever before. We know now that when we came to RAF, by the way, we did not know to this extent. Now we know even deeper now. And we're very, very happy. It will assist us as we continue to navigate and propagate this particular space to know what we really deal with. We're never going to be tempted at any point, as others were trying to do to this committee, that we must meet with Scopa before we meet with all these all these parties or role players. Because we can't be an oversight body that want to listen to a standing committee on the matter, to be briefed by a standing committee. Not the committee that I chair. It will never happen. That, forget it. It will never happen that I get a briefing from another committee on the responsibilities that I must get briefings directly. I'm saying this on record, including to all those members who had left on that particular guise. It's not going to happen. It will never happen. And I want to appreciate all of you who stood here and remained here, that for your servanthood and in the interest of the people of the Republic, because these are matters that have to do with the interest of the people of the Republic. To the extent that you're able to sit here until this hour, to dig deep through him, to understand through him what he knows that we ought to know. In your part, Mr. Lutswalo, I'm going to request that some of the information that you have mentioned, I don't know whether you may want us to write you the issues, the things that we want, or some of the information that you think you must voluntarily favor us with. It will go a long way for us to continue to study and understand broadly what is currently happening, including a list of all these law firms that are benefiting and how much over what a particular period, including those that it is only 2 companies that were mentioned that were major beneficiaries. But it's not what we are saying now. So we want all the list of the beneficiaries. We'll never be blindfolded in terms of accessing information. That's not going to happen, not in our lifetime, not when we're here. I want to close this meeting. Colleagues, you want to assist the chair in summarizing?
Chair, there's a very serious issue of Mr. Lutswalo's security that he spoke about. That he no longer has security. Can the chair comment about that? I'm not sure how you would comment on that one, Chair.
Honorable Kubega, if you heard well, that's the matter that has been ventilated at this point in court as part of the sub-issues of suspension. Is that so, Mr. Lutswalo?
Yes, Chair. I must make it clear. I'm saying when I came here, my security was refused to travel with me. But so far as back home, where I'm going, they are still there, but they can't travel with me for obvious reasons, and they are taking away the assets they must use to accompany me. So it must be seen that it must be clear.
Do you still have bodyguards?
I still do have them, but I left them at the airport. I came here alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think let's note that, and then we'll see how to deal with that as we move forward. But thanks very much, and I think the meeting stands adjourned at this hour.